the last of our research presenters, will be Masha.
This one. Good morning. Just a very quick introduction. I have a background in physics and psychology. I've been interested in microbiota since kind of almost the beginning, and I've just recently developed this kind of overview paradigm of microbiota and its role in cosmology and biology. So my talk has two possible titles. You can take your pick. The new genetic code in Big Bang microbiota paradigm includes cosmic mind, or Brahmachakra, cosmological and biological evolution as if God matters. And this new approach developed basically from two ideas that Pierre Sarkar gave about microbiota. One, they form atoms, and two, they form viruses. And the question is there any relationship between those two? And I think there is. So this PowerPoint will be available from me if you like at my website, richgautier@gmail.com, or from the organizers. Can we go to the next page? So this is sort of a summary of the proposed paradigm, so at least you'll kind of hear it in full, and then I'll take it into its pieces later. A new cosmological scientific paradigm is introduced for the origin and evolution of the universe and biological life by microbiota, subtle subatomic living entities proposed by P.R. Sarkar in 1986. Originating in the cosmic mind of God, RNA or DNA code-carrying microbiota produced the Big Bang, formed into fundamental particles and atoms after the Big Bang, were released from radioactive atoms and developed into RNA and DNA carrying viruses that then formed the first living cells. A laboratory experiment has been proposed to test this microbiota paradigm. A cosmic mind origin of the universal DNA RNA genetic code via microbiota could be the best explanation for a positive experimental result. This could help bring together science and spirituality in a rational way through further microbiota research and neo-humanistic education. So I'm proposing to bring the cosmic mind back into science, okay, where it's been excluded for the past couple of 100 years. I think we can skip over this. You know, in general, microbiota are subtle living entities. There are three types of microbiota, but I don't have time to go into that. The Big Bang. This picture is mainly to show that there's a question mark at the beginning of the Big Bang. No one knows what it was composed of, and it's known that it, at least of the theory, it developed into matter later on. So the Big Bang, it started out not being composed of matter, maybe something else. Okay, next please. I found a quote recently just from Pierre Sarkar's first lecture on microbiota, which is relevant, but it didn't go into the designing of the paradigm, but it's sort of a hint that maybe I'm on the right track. Now, what is the root cause of this universe? Which is the starting point of life or vitality? Okay. Bob is asking the root cause of the universe, and then talks about microbiota. Okay, and then at the end, so the root cause of life is not the unicellular, back up a little bit, the unicellular protozoa, but the unit microbiota. That's a hint that maybe the universe itself is the creation of microbiota. Okay, next please. So, microbiota, if they compose atoms, that means they're also composing protons, which form atoms. Protons were formed in about the first 2 seconds after the Big Bang. If protons were formed from microbiota, it means microbiota existed before that, which means before 2 seconds after the Big Bang. They might have been existing throughout the early Big Bang, the first 2 seconds of the Big Bang. They might have been existing right at the beginning of the Big Bang. I'll leave it there. And the next idea is that microbiota form viruses. Well, viruses are well-known in molecular biology as being consisting of either DNA or RNA and a coat of protein. So, and viruses are not considered living, but they're considered very basic somehow, probably to life, and it's not known where they came from. Okay, but and the interesting thing about DNA is it contains a code that relates four chemical bases, they're called, in the DNA molecule. 4 of those chemicals correspond to, in combinations of 20 different amino acids, which are used for making proteins. So that code between the bases in DNA and the 20 amino acids is called the genetic code. And that genetic code, it's not one-to-one because several different codes can correspond to one particular amino acid. But it is a code just like the Morse code, where dots and dashes correspond to different letters. The genetic code is just like that, relating one kind of chemical to a different kind of chemical by a code. And so viruses created by microvita would have that information. It means the microvita would carry that code as well. In order to create viruses that have that genetic code, the viruses would have to carry that genetic code as well. Next. So microvita form atoms, microvita form viruses. What's the connection? Well, there's another quote given actually from notes of one Acharya named Vimalananda from talking to Baba, and he strongly affirms that this is what he heard from Baba. And so I've used that as part of my approach. And the part that in solid is the most important. When solid matter explodes at the atomic level, billions of microvita that have solidified to form the atom may awaken. Microvita are dormant in the atom and very small. When Jadaspota occurs, microvita awaken and take on a different structure. If the environment is changed, microvita change to suit the environment. That's how a tiny microvitum can change and become so large that it can be seen through a microscope. This is maybe new to most of you. This is actually was printed in my microvita book 35 years ago, because I just received the information from Dr. Vimalananda and put it in the book without kind of processing it at the time. The other line, the RNA and DNA of a particular virus is unique to the virus. Particles of cosmic cheetah, when microvita are emanated from cosmic mind, already contain the information for RNA or DNA. This is a quote, attributed to Baba. This information is there, but not seen until microvitum is awakened, that is released from atoms, and when it is in virus form, then we can detect it. So the key idea is, what is this solid matter exploding at the atomic level and becoming active and Jadaspota occurring? Well, when I first saw that, I just put it aside. Jadaspota, I thought, oh, that's exploding stars. I can't relate to that in this particular context. But now I'm interpreting it as explosions at the atomic level is radioactivity. You treat that explosions at the atomic level as radioactivity, then that means radioactivity releases microvita. So that microvita in atoms can be released from radioactive atoms, and then those develop into viruses. Okay, and then those viruses can form life. Okay, so that's the connection. Microvita forming atoms and microvita forming viruses is related by the radioactivity of atoms. Next slide. Okay, so this basically just summarizes what I said before. Microvita are produced in the cosmic cheetah. Microvita form the Big Bang. I'm proposing that the Big Bang is formed from microvita, not from matter, because matter is produced by the Big Bang, okay? Microvita form atoms and molecules during radioactivity, awaken the microvita, are released from atoms and develop into RNA, DNA carrying viruses in a chemical environment. These viruses then can form the first living cells with their DNA and RNA. New species are evolved. This is evolution of species, I'm proposing, when DNA and RNA carrying viruses add DNA to species groups, making efforts to develop new physical or psychic expressions in their environment. So evolution is based on the efforts of species. It's not just a passive approach, according to Darwinism. Next. I did propose this experiment to test for the origin of microbiota. Could you go down to the picture? Basically, it says bring a radioactive material up to a solution containing chemicals, and the radioactive material would release microbiota, which would travel through the glass, which would go into the chemicals and start producing bacteria or producing viruses from just chemicals. So it's the creation of viruses or protozoa in a sterile container of chemicals due to the presence of nearby radioactive atoms. So that's the experiment, and it could be tested by observing the formation of viruses or bacteria in a test tube. Next. So you can pass the experimental procedure. It's just describing that process. Okay. So what are the implications of if the experiment came out positive? That means the viruses contain the DNA, and those viruses came from atoms. Those atoms were produced just around the time of the Big Bang, and therefore microbiota must have been right at the Big Bang as well. So microbiota are active throughout the entire cosmological range from the beginning of the Big Bang. And in the Big Bang, where did they get their microbiota from? You have to say a cosmic mind. There was nothing else. There's nothing physical that could produce the DNA. It had to come from a mind. Let's call it a cosmic mind. Why cosmic? Because it created the universe and it created life in the universe. That cosmic mind could only be called the mind of God if you define God as the creator of the universe and the creator of life in the universe. The basic definition of God. What will be the implications of a positive result? If a cosmic mind is accepted scientifically as the emanator of genetically coded microbiota that initiate the Big Bang, this will be a new approach to science, because it would implicate the cosmic mind as an active causal agent in the creation of the universe and life, and that the genetic code would be coded in the Big Bang itself. It's not something that developed random. Neohumanism would replace materialism, because this throws out materialism. If the cosmic mind is implicated as a causal agent in the universe and life, materialism goes out the window. Okay. The cosmological and biological roles of microbiota will need to be integrated into neo-humanist education, because there are implications. You can sort of see for yourself, if you think about it, what the implications might be. One is that if atoms contain DNA, atoms go throughout the universe, right? So the DNA and the genetic code goes with those atoms throughout the universe. It means that the whole universe is filled with the same universal genetic code that's in all life on this planet. Okay, so extraterrestrials will have the same genetic code as we do, because they got the same atoms that were radioactive. Implications: neo-humanist education, some kind of formal structure needs to accelerate microbiota research through Gurukul or the Neo-Humanist College of Asheville. And with that, I'd like to thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
If you have a question, please come up and speak into the mic.
Yes, I have a question. I have a question.
Okay.
Can I say my question?
Yes.
Rudresh, I appreciate your work with microbiota and all that. But I have one fundamental point of contention. My question is, why are we still speaking in terms of the Big Bang? Baba never referred to the creation of the universe as a point in time. In fact, I gave a presentation at the Summer Bliss Conference where I gave several Baba quotes where he refers to the universe as eternally pulsating. So it's very clear from what Baba said that the universe has always existed, and there wasn't a so-called point of creation at a point in time. And in fact, if we're still talking about the Big Bang, we're behind mainstream science as well, because the James Webb Space Telescope is currently in the process of disproving the Big Bang. For example, they have found mature galaxies where they shouldn't have been, near the so-called start of the Big Bang. And if mature galaxies are there, then the Big Bang is not possible.
Okay,
Because
now, we only have a limited amount of time. Let Rudresh talk.
So the Big
Hey,
Bang.
Rudresh can just respond.
Yeah,
Yes.
the Big Bang may be a theory, but it's still the origin of atoms has to be explained. And if atoms are shown to have DNA, that still has to be explained, whether or not it occurred earlier in a Big Bang or something else. It had to originate from the cosmic mind at some point, because the cosmic mind created the universe, whether it's, you can say whether it's infinitely old or not, the cosmic mind created the universe and the atoms. So it did still create the genetic code. That has to be accounted for.
Yes, but the creation of matter from the cosmic mind can
No,
be an
we can't
ongoing process.
continue. We can't continue, Dada.
Sorry, don't.
Okay. I'll continue this conversation with Rudresh. I'll continue with Rudresh. Yeah. Okay.
No, I haven't done the experiment. It needs to be done by a competent microbiologist who knows how to work with viruses and who knows how to design experiments, who knows how to write it up and get it published in a reputable journal.
Okay.
Another simple question from an educational perspective. Some people say now that students can't really study physics in secondary school because the necessity for experimental conditions like the particle accelerator are so expensive and so far beyond anything a school can afford that labs are even out of fashion. So my question has to do with your proposed experiment, and would this cost on the level of the particle accelerator, or are you proposing something much simpler?
It's much simpler. It requires just someone to get their hands on some radioactive material and a test tube of precursor chemicals to life, put them together in a systematic way. That's a tabletop experiment.
You need a detector.
And a detector. Well, you need the microscope to visualize the. I don't mean microscope, electron microscope. What detector do you need? To detect viruses? Okay, use that. I'm open to those, whatever works. Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you, Rudresh.
Thank
We
you.
need to continue.